Will the Bank of England be the first major central bank to break out and raise interest rates? Well, it's got its latest meeting next week, and Pete and Nina are here to guide us through that and more. Pete, the Bank of England's been saying some pretty mixed things about interest rates recently. What do you expect next week? Going to do anything?
I think it's extremely unlikely that they will do anything this week. The last minutes from last meeting, they were unanimous in deciding not to touch interest rates, not to raise interest rates. So I think it's unlikely that they will move this time round, given that the whole committee was unanimous last time round.
And given comments from Governor Mark Carney at Mansion House as well, that hasn't really done much to shift the dial in terms of expecting a rate cut soon. Because
he said there that rate rises might come sooner than expected, but then he seemed to dial back not long after that. Is that right?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. I think we're still talking about the end of this year, maybe the start of next, rather than in the middle of 14.
And analysts have been gradually bringing forward their expectations, haven't they?
But not quite yet.
Somewhere a bit behind.
Well, the UK economy has been going pretty well, and one area in particular has been house prices. We'll get more data on that next week. What do you expect to see there?
We have some RICS data next week, and the general house price balance from RICS has been strong, actually surprising to the upside the last 2 months. And also nationwide house prices continue to be strong as well, so that's likely to continue. Although mortgage approvals are starting to drop off a bit, but house prices are still expected to stay quite strong. Although no signs yet from the BOE in terms of a housing bubble.
Okay. Let's broaden it out to Europe. Not too much data next week, but some industrial production numbers, yeah?
For most of the Eurozone countries, and indeed from the UK, the German industrial production figures are expected to show some small levels of growth. I mean, the interesting thing might be the contrast with the other countries. I mean, will we continue to get really anemic growth from the likes of Italy and France, and what pressures does that put on the ECB with their monetary policy decision making?
Yep, the old north-south divide persisting, I'm afraid. Across the pond, the Fed latest minutes of their meeting, probably from last month. What do you be looking out for there?
Again, any suggestions on rate expectations?
Absolutely. They cut back their expectations for growth for 2014 because of the sharp contraction in the first quarter figures. So they're expecting growth about 2.2% for 2014 from 2.9%. But we'll be looking to see whether they're still optimistic about growth going forward, given those weak first quarter numbers.
Great. Let's switch to the corporate side. We're just ahead of earnings season here in Europe. You'll be looking at AB Foods in particular next week, Nina.
Yes, they have their third quarter IMS next week, and it's likely to be a bit more of the same in terms of Primark continuing to be very strong. That's its clothing business, and sugar business actually remaining quite weak. FX continues to be a concern given the strength of the British pound. But what is interesting and what will continue to be in focus is Primark and how its sort of expansion plans into the US are going. And also
they're sort of a cheap retailer, aren't they?
Yes.
Or not cheap, but good value.
Discount, good value, yes.
Yeah.
And so we'll be looking for clues in terms of how the first stores in France are doing and how plans to expand into the US are progressing as well. And both updates on that front are likely to be quite upbeat.
Great. Sounds interesting. Thanks very much, both of you.